Hello, everyone. I recently had testicular cancer, and I'm going to talk about it. This is really not fun for me. I'm typically a private person, but I thought that maybe my story could help some of you that are unfortunate enough to get this too. So I thought I'd talk about my experience. This is a fairly rare cancer, and most guys don't like talking about their junk on the internet, so there's not exactly a ton of people sharing their experiences. The good news is that the survival rate for this cancer is super high, so you're probably not going to die. It's highly unlikely that you're going to die, and that's a pretty good combo. Cancer and not dying, it's pretty good. I'd take it. And that was definitely not always the case. Actually, back in the 70s, I think it was, this cancer was essentially a death sentence. So yeah, just be really glad that you have it at this point in history, because before it was not good. It was really, really not good. Well, anyways, I guess I start from the beginning. I noticed one day that one of my balls was super hard, almost like a rock. That's obviously not normal, so I found the urologist and set up an appointment. Then I tried to get out of that appointment because I was convinced it was nothing, I was overreacting, but my wife yelled at me and made me go, and obviously it's a good thing that she did. So anyways, I walk in, the doctor's having a casual conversation with me, and he starts feeling around, and he was like mid-sentence, he cuts off. And I'm like, crap, that's not good. And it wasn't. He tells me that what he's feeling is almost certainly a tumor and that it needs to come out right away. And by it, he meant the tumor and the testicle. It all needs to go. That's obviously a horrifying thought for any dude, but he explains to me that losing one of the boys isn't actually that big of a deal. The other one just sort of like goes into overdrive and makes up for its missing buddy, essentially. I can't say that at the time I was super reassured by that, but I didn't exactly have a choice, so I had to make the best of it. So anyways, he tells me to run over immediately to get an ultrasound to figure out exactly what it is, how big it is, where it is, all that, and then I also had to do some blood work to check for cancer markers, because different cancers will excrete, I guess, different types of stuff into your body, and if they pick those up, they can kind of like have a better idea of what type of cancer it is, because there's different like subtypes of testicular cancer. For those curious, my AFP ended up being elevated, which gave them some information to work off of. So anyways, like I did those tests, the doctor calls me the following morning with the results, and he confirms like, yep, you've got a tumor. It's likely cancerous. It's almost certainly cancerous because your AFP is elevated, and you need surgery, and like right away. He wanted it literally the next day, but we couldn't make it happen because it was like the weekend was coming up and there was a holiday on top of that. So I ended up having to wait like a week I had to like schedule it a week out, which apparently is not ideal. Like you just want this stuff out immediately to give yourself the best shot, but that was the best we could do. He did tell me the good news is that the tumor is likely something called a seminomatous tumor, which basically is like the most benign type. So he was optimistic that we do the surgery, we take it out. It was unlikely to have spread because I seem to have caught it relatively early, and then I'm pretty much done with cancer. They put me on surveillance just to make sure, but statistically I would almost certainly be done, and it's over and not that big of a deal minus the surgery. So that's what we were hoping for. So anyways, fast forward to the surgery. About a week later, the actual procedure is shockingly fast. It takes like an hour and a half. They sort of cut into you nearish your hip, like between your hip and your groin, and they kind of like tunnel in and take it out. They take out the cord that the testicle's attached to, and the whole testicle. They kind of just rip all that out. But yeah, it was super quick. I maybe spent 5 hours total at the hospital, and then they sent me on my way home. They told me the full recovery would be 6 weeks, and that I during that time I couldn't exercise or lift anything, and I should limit my walking. And for like the first 2 weeks, walking would just be difficult in general, both because of pain and also where they like tunneled in, it like numbs your entire leg. Like, not your entire leg, but like the upper part of your thigh like comes numb, and the incision area under it is numb. And for me, that cleared up a little bit after the surgery, but I still, like, over 2 months out, I still have numbness there, and for some people it just never goes away. So at this point, I'm kind of assuming it's permanent, but I'm hoping I get the feeling back at some point. But as of right now, like, right under the incision, like, it's all numb for me. I can't feel a thing down there, and it's kind of like when you go to the dentist and they numb you up. It's similar to that is in how it feels. But yeah, the surprising part is that I assumed, they're taking a testicle, like that's gonna hurt down there, but it didn't. It, like, basically no pain. A little discomfort, felt a little weird for a while, but not really any pain, which was shocking to me. What really hurt was the incision. Like, that did not feel good. As long as I was like relatively immobile, it was fine. But anytime I had to get up, sit down, God forbid I had to sneeze, laying down especially, horrible. For the first week, I barely slept because I did not want to lay down. But as long as I was staying in the same spot, I was cool. I couldn't walk that well for about a week, but got better every day. It was almost kind of like relearning how to walk in a sense. I don't know. I just couldn't walk very well for a while, but then it came back. But yeah, I just tried to stay in one spot and not do a whole lot. So anyways, about a week goes by, and I have to go into the urologist to do the follow-up on the pathology and kind of like next steps if there's any. This was supposed to be the follow-up where they're like, yep, it's exactly what we thought. Everything's good. We're going to put you on surveillance for, 2 years or whatever the plan was going to be, and your chance of getting, having your cancer spread are super low, so you're probably good. But that's not what happened. The urologist comes in, and literally the first words out of his mouth were, "So I was not pleased with your pathology report." He explains to me that I didn't end up having a seminomatous tumor. I had a non-seminomatous tumor, something called a mixed germ cell tumor, which is basically 2 or more types of non-seminomatous tumors combined, which I didn't even know that was a thing before having cancer myself, but apparently it's actually somewhat common. So mine was 30% something called yolk sac, which is a really weird term in my opinion, and then 70% was embryonal carcinoma. And the embryonal carcinoma part was the most alarming because apparently that's the most aggressive type. Like, it tries to get out like immediately, and it doesn't like need the same opportunities that the other ones do. Like, it's trying to spread immediately. It's trying to get out. So they were really concerned about that. But the good news was that I did catch it early. I had stage 1, testicular cancer, and I didn't have something called lymphovascular invasion, which is like one of the things that they look for to see how likely it was that your cancer like basically got out. So like with the other cancers, if you don't have lymphovascular invasion, LVI, your chance of spread is super low. I didn't have it, but I had embryonal carcinoma, so like it was good news, but also bad news because the embryonal. So anyways, like my urologist was like, I don't, this is beyond my capabilities. You're going to have to see a specialist, and a specialist oncologist who works with these types of, rarer cancers, I guess. But yeah, he referred me to the specialist, and he told me at that point, like, yeah, given the situation, based on my knowledge, your chance for chemo right now is about a coin flip. It's like 50-50. So that was not exactly what I wanted to hear at that point. But anyways, we set up the appointment. I go through the rest of my recovery. And prior to that oncologist appointment, I had to do a CT scan with contrast, which was not great. First time I'd done that, it's a weird feeling. It doesn't feel great. And then I had to do some blood work, some additional blood work to see if my cancer markers had gone down. So basically, they're trying to see if my cancer had spread. And if it hadn't, then, I have options. And if it had, then I have some options potentially, but it's almost certainly chemotherapy and surgery. So I was hoping to avoid that, obviously. So yeah, we get the results back, or rather they go over the results with me at the oncologist. He says, they don't detect anything. My tumor markers have gone down. And, he wasn't pleased about the embryonal carcinoma part of my tumor, but he recommended that I go on surveillance for 5 years. I get blood tests 4 times a year and a CT scan once a year, and hopefully nothing pops up. But because of the type of cancer I had, he gave me about a 30% chance that it comes back. And if it comes back, then, then it's stage 2 or 3, and, you're doing chemotherapy and probably surgery. So anyways, I went with his recommendation. I went on surveillance, and that's what I'm doing now. So, I'll be doing those tests for the next essentially 5 years and hoping nothing shows up. There was some other options. He offered to do preventative chemotherapy, where you do 1 round of chemotherapy. It almost certainly wipes it out, and then your chance of spread is almost non-existent. But it's chemotherapy. It has long-term side effects. It increases your chances of future cancer, and it makes you feel like crap and probably takes your hair away. So, if you want to be extra careful, you can do that, but it has its own problems. And then the other option was a surgery called RPLND, which is where they remove, I believe they're pronounced retropineal lymph nodes in your backish area, and that's where this cancer tends to spread to first. So they kind of just remove those to prevent the chance of it moving to that area, but that has its own complications, which I'm not qualified to talk about, but there's a lot of people that have done it. Some swear by it and say it was amazing and not that big of a deal and stop them from having to do chemo. Others say it was one of the worst things they experienced in their life. So, it's a mixed bag. I didn't really know what to think about that, but I went with my doctor's recommendation for surveillance, and I'm hoping I'm not in that 30%, basically. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. The one part I just realized I didn't talk about when I got the surgery, they gave me the option of getting a fake ball, a prosthesis. I didn't go with that. I just went all natural. I don't know if it's all natural to have it removed, but I didn't get the prosthesis because, I don't know, I thought it'd be kind of silly, and I have no regrets. So I do know people that have gotten it, and they did. Some say it's fine, and others regretted it. I didn't get it, and I don't regret it. I can't imagine any woman out there, or man, depending on your preference. I can't imagine anybody really caring about you, the one testicle person. I don't date one testicle men. Only 2 testicle men will do for me. I don't think it matters. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it feels fine to me. So, if anyone was wondering, I'm in the 1 ball club, and it feels fine and doesn't bother me. So, that would be my personal recommendation. I wouldn't want to put some weird plastic thing in there and have it all jostled around all the time and bothering me. But some people say it's cool. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. Like I said, it's kind of it's crazy because modern medicine is amazing. This cancer killed everyone that got it 50 years ago. Like, it was one of the worst cancers. And now it's like, if you're gonna get cancer, if you had to choose one, it's not a bad one to choose. It's like, if this is the end of the line for me and I didn't have to do chemo, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it was terrifying during the process. I wish I'd never had to deal with any of this. But if this is the end of the line, it's, you know, there's worse things in the world. So, if you are dealing with this, hopefully you get a similar outcome. But even if you don't, if it spreads, they can take care of it almost assuredly. Like, it's gonna suck. You're gonna have to do something you really don't want to do. But, you know, for the vast majority of people, they'll cure you of it, and it'll be done. So that's the silver lining. You got a good cancer if you got this. So yeah, I don't know how to end this. Hopefully this was helpful to some people. Good luck. I wish you the best, and have a good one.